Hi everyone, thanks for joining today. Hope everyone is having a great week so far. Thanks for joining the Every Tool, Every Client, One MSP Dashboard webinar from us here at SquaredUp. My name is Dan Watts. I'm a DevRel Engineer here at SquaredUp. I've been with SquaredUp for about 4 years almost. I work very closely with our MSP clients, MSP partners, and I also do a lot of work on our MSP plugins in terms of development. So just before we start, just a couple minutes of housekeeping. I don't like spending too much time on this, but we are recording, so the recording will be sent out automatically to everyone who's registered for this webinar. There is no need to do a screen record on your own sides. Mics are muted just for this session. Sometimes we do the interactive stuff, but for today, we're going to keep it muted. But do feel free to drop questions in the chat as we go. We will have people going through and answering them as we go. If there's any left at the end, when I've finished with the slides and the demo, then we will cover those live as well. I'll quickly talk to them as well. And just a very quick agenda. Again, I don't like spending too much time on this stuff, but we are doing welcome and introductions now, so I'll skip over that one. The MSP reporting problem, so we'll just go through the problem we're trying to solve here at SquaredUp with our tool and how it helps you as an MSP. We'll go through what it says there, live dashboard build, but actually we're going to do a bit more of a full demo of SquaredUp, only for sort of 10-15 minutes. But we will show you how to do things like integrate with your tools in a very non-engineering, non-SQL way, how you can build dashboards that your clients and other team members love in your MSP, how you can use it to do things like reporting, how you can use our MCP server. I think this might be the first webinar we're going to be showing that on in terms of the MSP sort of story, which is pretty cool. We'll just touch on a couple real MSP stories after the demo, so just a couple case studies we've got that you can then look at afterwards. And like I said, we'll be doing a quick Q&A. I do encourage you to sort of drop the questions in the chat as we go, because we will look at answering them. But like I said, if there's anything left at the end, we'll just cover that off. I'll just talk to it basically on live. So let's jump in. So the MSP reporting sprawl. Why one dashboard per tool never really adds up to one answer. So what do I mean by that? So where does MSP reporting stop? So your PSA tool that you might be using, your RM tool, your security and backup tools, even things like M365, Azure, cloud platforms, for example, they do have their own sort of dashboards, reporting built in. The problem is though, oftentimes it's great for that specific set of data. It's great for what that tool does. It's not great for the correlation aspect. It's not great for getting everything into one view. There are some exceptions. So for example, let's take your PSA tool. Let's take Halo PSA, for example. They do have a dashboard system. They do have a reporting system. It is technically possible to do things like integrate with an RMM tool. Let's say like Ninja RMM, for example. You can pull in things like what's going on with, some stuff that's going on with endpoints, for example. But in our experience and what we hear from our MSP clients is that it's still fragmented. So, you might get sort of drips and drabs of stuff from those integrations, but you won't get the full picture of what's going on deep within those tools in each other, in their own, reporting systems. Oftentimes to even get that working as well, I won't name particular tools, but essentially, you do require quite hefty knowledge of SQL. You need to, allocate quite a lot of engineering time to getting these kinds of views in tools that really aren't kind of built for it. So, your PSA tool, RM tool, for example, any other tool, it's designed to be great at showing the data within it. It's not designed to be, tailored for tools that they, frankly don't build for, which is fair enough. A lot of the time it's static. So, if you are building these views or you do want to get some enhanced correlation, let's say you're building a report for a client, for example, oftentimes to get that data, you'll need to do exports. So you'll need to export the data from those particular tools and then correlate them in things like a spreadsheet or a database or whatever you want. The problem is the second you export that data, it's no longer getting updated. You have to either go re-export it, or you need to go manually change some stuff, or you need to shoehorn the data back in if you need to update it, basically. The advantage of something like SquaredUp is that it updates every 60 seconds by default, so it is real time. So you can really trust this data that what you're seeing is the most real time it can be. If it's not real time, if it can't update in real time, it will tell you, but that is extraordinarily rare. you'll always see pretty much the most real-time data possible. A lot of the time as well, without something like SquaredUp, if you're doing things like building a QBR, or you just want to get a nice clean view or a branded view of what's going on, oftentimes you'll again have to export that data from the particular tools. It's quite a big time sink for the people involved. Customer success managers, for example, when they're building these QBRs, they have to spend time going into the separate tools, collating the data. Even if you've got something ready, ready to go in terms of what you're exporting, it still takes time to pull that together in a nice branded view. SquaredUp helps solve that, where with our dashboards, you can the view is already there, it's persistent, so you can really just export that. Or if you want something a lot more custom, as long as the data is in SquaredUp, you can use things like our MCP server, which I'll show you in a minute in the demo. But this can essentially automate the task of building these branded QBRs, or whatever you want to achieve, whether it's a presentation, whether it's a PDF. It's really up to you what you want to build with it. And it really eliminates that manual aspect, giving time, a ton of time back to the people involved. So we feel there's a better way. So every tool in your stack, every client you manage, all on one live dashboard. That's SquaredUp. So live dashboards for every tool in your MSP stack, no matter what they are. So whether it's your PSA tool, RMM tool, any other tool from our vast library of integrations, it's all possible. So just before I jump into the specifics of that, very, very quickly going to cover what SquaredUp is, who we are. So we were founded in 2011, so we have been going for some time. I do like showing this just because it gives a bit of context, and a lot of people who jump on these webinars may not have heard of us. We do have offices all over the world. We have a presence in a lot of time zones, basically, for things like support and contact. We are B Corp certified, which is pretty cool. We are committed to doing things ethically here. And just as a bit of backstory, we did start off back in 2011 doing dashboards. We were still doing dashboards, but it was specifically for Microsoft SCOM, so System Center Manager. So this is going to, this was very specific to things like data centers or people who are managing Microsoft-based networks. We've since branched out, and our main tool now is the one where you're covering everything in the world of IT, including the MSP space. And yeah, tons of customers from all over the world in terms of enterprises and MSPs, and we have a very high customer satisfaction rating, like it says there. Jumping forward, so SquaredUp for MSPs. I mentioned a couple of ways before how it does solve those problems. But here's a few sort of key benefits that are sort of spelt out. So connecting in minutes, there is really no sort of code or SQL or any databases required from your end. We are a SaaS-based tool, so it's all hosted for you. Obviously, you can choose where it is hosted in terms of data sovereignty, but integrating, you just jump onto the integration library, as we call it. You put in, just a couple sort of details. Usually, it's like an API key or something similar, and it's all handled for you pretty much from then on. So we give you a bunch of out-of-the-box dashboards, which I'll show, gets you up and ready and started very, very quickly, and then you can use that as a base to build something a bit more custom if you'd like. It enables PSA and RMM to be shown side by side. So this is kind of specific, obviously, to the MSP use case, but you can also, in addition, showcase things like M365 licenses, cloud costs, anything really that you want to show. But specific to the PSA and RM side, you're going to be showing things like your service desk tickets, SLAs, and you can scope these all to per client or per team or per agent maybe. But yeah, devices, alerts, all of this is all possible. Like I said before, live accurate data as well, so you don't have to rely on exports or snapshots. Every 60 seconds, you can be very sure this is the most live data possible. And it really enables the shareability. So we have a lot of sharing features. This is really designed to be shared with people in your organization, people outside of your organization. And in the MSP use case, it's great for sharing your data, showing your value that you're offering as an MSP to your clients. So this is going to be things like your branded dashboards that you can build for them that stay persistent. So they don't have to request one. You can just make a permanent one for them if you like. You can build QBR based dashboards. You can build per client workspaces, which I'll cover off. So these are like mini tenants they can click around. And there is a full access control system behind this, so you can really be sure that you're not allowing customers to see more than they should be in terms of data. It covers every tool in your stack. So again, this is, we're talking today in terms of MSPs. So I've highlighted PSAs and RMM tools because it's kind of the bread and butter. I think most people will agree. So this is things like your ConnectWise PSA, Halo PSA, many more RMM tools as well, Ninja One, Enable, everything else as well. So oftentimes you may want to combine this with the tools you're managing on behalf of customers. So things like your backup systems, Huntress for things like security, M365 to showcase licenses and license adoption as well. So there's a ton of stats you can get there. But as it says at the bottom there, if it has an API, SquaredUp can dashboard it. So what that means is we do also offer a bunch of connectors to any API, any database, any PowerShell script you can run even. So this allows you to, if you're building something more custom, or if there's just something a bit more niche that isn't yet in our library. I mean, first of all, if that does happen, please let us know, because we can turn it around pretty quickly. But also, it just means you can integrate with yourself. Again, that's something the MCP server helps with if you're, if you're using AI at the moment. It can also do things like manage your integrations, so that's all nice and easy as well. So one setup, every client. So you have a couple of choices here. A lot of our MSP clients kind of do both. So they may want to sort of build one dashboard for everything they're doing operationally. It's a nice overview, but also it allows you to sort of build dashboards on a per client basis. So you can really drill down into sort of the scope of just a single client. There's a few features that enable this. So the client workspaces are great. I'll showcase those in the demo, but they are sort of individual kind of mini tenants with their own access control system. So you can really build one of these for specific clients or specific teams. And this allows them to sort of click around and sort of see all the stuff in there that you've built for them, or you can let them build stuff for themselves if you like. But it just means they're locked down to that specific area. They can't fall over to what you're seeing operationally, and they can't see things from other clients. The workspaces also enable the middle thing here, which is to roll it all up. So we have an organization home, which allows you to automatically, once you've built all of these individual client workspaces, it automatically rolls it up for you into one cohesive view with things like your statuses, your alerts, your SLAs. So this is going to be a great thing operationally. If you let's say you're an executive or something, you just want to see the big picture. This is a great tool for that. And building once and reusing it. So we get questions a lot from MSPs in terms of how, it's great, I can build these dashboards and everything, but I've got 500 clients. Do I have to do it 500 times? The answer is, of course, no. So you can build one dashboard and then have what's called a dashboard variable, which I'll showcase, where you can sort of change the scope of it. So you can change it to, your scope could be your clients, or it could be your agents, or it could be your teams. It just means you can change the data being shown on the one dashboard you built for various different scopes. So that's all great. There are also a bunch of tools and features that enable this. Terraform, we have a Terraform provider, so oftentimes you can template stuff and then rescale it out to all of your other clients. Alternatively, again, the MCP server, you can just ask it. Actually, the next slide says it, but you can really just ask it to do what you want it to. So let's say you've built a really cool dashboard or a set of dashboards for one client, and you want to scale that out to all of your other clients. You can really just ask the MCP server to do it with AI, and it will do it for you. It will orchestrate stuff in SquaredUp. It will build dashboards. It will build integrations. It will build workspaces. It can do everything like that for you. But the reverse is also true. So you can also, instead of just asking it to orchestrate SquaredUp, you can get stuff out of SquaredUp. So you can say, build me a nice QBR report, for example, for this particular customer, and it will go and fetch that and build it for you into like a PDF or a spreadsheet or a presentation. Or you can just ask flat out for the data. So you can say, what is my average SLA across all my customers? And something like Claude will interact with our MCP server and pull that back for you, so you can see it from right within Claude itself or whatever AI tool you're using. So just before we jump into the demo, I've just put a quick slide here about one particular plugin that I want to spotlight, which is our ConnectWise PSA plugin. So this came out last week, available to every user of SquaredUp now. So It does give you a bunch of stuff out of the box. So 7 dashboards out of the box, like to your tickets, your companies, your members, for example, how much time they're spending on all their stuff. 7 live data streams. So this is time entries, tickets, all the stuff you might expect. And all of this requires no SQL, no engineering work really at all. It's all pretty much handled for you. You could always, for the last year or so, we've always had people using ConnectWise PSA with SquaredUp, but they, it had to require like a manual API connection, a little bit of engineering work. It wasn't too difficult. We have had a bunch of guides for it, but right now, as we've just released the official plugin, it makes things a lot easier. You can get up and running with it in only a minute or two. So yeah, if you are a ConnectWise PSA user, all the more reason to jump into SquaredUp and have a play with it. So let's jump into the live demo now. So I'm not gonna, we're not gonna be here hours, but I will showcase for sort of 10-15 minutes what SquaredUp is, what it looks like, how you can integrate with various plugins and integrations, and then all of the features I just mentioned to enable, why it's so great for MSPs. So things like building dashboards with multiple sets of data on them, scoping it all to different clients or teams or members, shareability as well. Actually, I just realized that this is all described on the next slide. So as you can see, connect tools, your client-ready views, your client roll-ups. But also at the end, I will build it all or showcase how it can be done with our MCP server for AI. In this case, I will showcase how we can build. You can just ask Claude, for example, to build me a pretty cool a pretty cool QBR dashboard, I should say, for a particular customer or just a various group of customers, and I don't have to interact with the SquaredUp UI at all. It will do it all for me. Okay, so let's switch over now. Okay, so I've switched over to SquaredUp. So if you're seeing SquaredUp for the first time, this is what it looks like. So it is a dashboarding / observability / business intelligence tool where the main core of it is dashboards. So as you can see, we've got some tile-based dashboards here. And just to orient sort of how it works, on the left we have our navigation sort of menu. We have the workspaces that I mentioned earlier. So these are the separate areas for your different customers, different teams. I'll showcase those a little bit more in a minute. But right now we're in our MSP webinar workspace that I've made for the purpose of showing you, basically. You can also see on the left we have our list of dashboards that belong to this workspace. So if I change workspaces, this list of dashboards will change. It would be specific to that workspace I was in. But as you can see, also we've got our list of data sources. So these are basically all of the integrations that are currently connected to this particular workspace. These can be shared between workspaces, so you don't have to reconnect them every time. And there is a full access control system behind it all. We do have a few others, monitors and that kind of thing, but I will jump into those a little bit later. But as you can see, just to get started, this is quite a general dashboard. This one is the My MSP Metrics dashboard. So we've got stuff from Azure, so infrastructure. We could get things like cost as well. We've got service desk metrics from things like Halo, so PSA tools. We've got our satisfaction ratings as well. We've got assets listed from our PSA tool. We can get financial data as well, so net amounts, profit loss, that is all possible. If I scroll down, you can see also tickets, like I said, cloud costs from various sources. This is a mix of AWS and Azure, so that's all combinable. RMMs, in this case, we've got Datto RMN. I think this one here is our device health status from Ninja. We have a list of devices from Ninja as well. So you can really showcase what you want, where you want it on a single dashboard. You really don't have to lock it down to a single tool. It can be any one of the tools in our data source library. And speaking of our data source library, that's accessible if I go over to the data source list here and click Add Data Source. This is going to load up our library of plugins essentially that you can integrate with. So at the top here we can see, like I said before, you don't have to reintegrate every single time if you make a new workspace. So these are all of the integrations that are currently connected to our SquaredUp tenant that are available to me. So I've got enough access control to sort of add them to my workspace. So if I were to click on this, it would add them to this list down here of the stuff that's already connected. If I don't want to add something that someone's already done, I want to add something totally new, I can do that. We've got our featured ones here. If I scroll down, we can see we've got a ton of different integrations. This is all searchable as well, so I can type in Halo, and we've got Halo and Halo ITSM here. Same goes for like things like Ninja. Again, I can add that here. If I go back to here and go to ConnectWise PSA, as you can see, it all kind of works like this. So I click on it. All I need to put in is a few bits of information. So things like company ID, public API key, that's all generatable within ConnectWise PSA, and there's some docs around it. Docs aren't loading just here. They would load here, but it's just because in our demo tenant they don't. Same sort of thing goes for all of our other tools. So once we have this connected, so let's say I've just added that ConnectWise plugin. So I just did it. I put in that detail and hit go. This is what happens. So it runs what we call an index. So you can see the last index succeeded about 9 hours ago. I can rerun that whenever I want. But as you can see, it checks what is in this particular environment. So for ConnectWise, it's going to be things like your ConnectWise companies, members, agreements, projects. I can scroll down here and see what it has indexed, so I can make sure what I'm expecting does show up there. I can click on these and drill down and look at them, but I won't do that just for now because it will take me off somewhere. As you can see as well, we do build you a few out-of-the-box dashboards, so this really varies on the separate, on the individual plugin as to what dashboard you're going to get. So as you can see, we've got overview, ticket overview. This is a PSA tool, so this is going to be a lot of service desk metrics, a lot of time-based metrics, so that's all possible. And you can sort of see here as well the data streams here. There are going to be some more added to this in the next week, I think, just based off some requests we've got from our clients. But as you can see, we get all the most crucial data already. And yeah, I can jump into here. So if I go overview, it will take me to this drop down under the plugin, so I can collapse that and uncollapse it if I ever want to get back to here. But as you can see, right out of the box, I've not had to do anything to get this data. It all does this for me. I have a list of, well, not a list, but I can see all of my companies. I can see my open tickets, how many hours have been logged. This is just a demo tenant of ConnectWise, so it's not going to have the most real data. But as you can see, we get a nice list of metrics. Obviously, this would be scoped to whatever you have within your organization. And I can drill down, so I can click on these tiles. So this should open it up for me to see, where I can see all of the customers in this case, or all the companies, I should say, and the most critical data as well. Same goes for things like open tickets or agreements expiring soon, let's say. So if I click on it, agreements expiring soon, I'll show my raw data. You can sort of see which ones those are. I can then go ahead and take some action here. So for example, with here, I can sort of click in this, I can drill down, I can see what the customer is, I can see when it's going to expire, for example. And I can go ahead and do some action off the back of that. So this is just like an overview. We also have things like ticket overviews as well. So this is going to be, again, right out of the box for you. Again, we don't have the most demo data here. If I expand this out to this year, we might get a little bit more. Yeah, a little bit more. Where you can sort of see what tickets they are, ticket per board, tickets open this month, for example. That's all possible. And again, this is all for you right out of the box. There is really no need to really do anything. I can do what I want here. So if I go to my members, for example, this is a good showcase of how the dashboard variable works. So I mentioned before, all of this is great and everything, but I don't want to build, I've got 500 customers or I've got 500 agents, let's say. I don't want to build a separate dashboard for each and every one. That would take an eternity. Good thing we have the dashboard variable system. So this is what it is, this drop down here. This is going to use the index from when we first added the integration, which updates, I believe, every 12 hours or manually, whenever you want. I can then go ahead and click on an object here. So I'll click on my name because I'm in the ConnectWise system, and it filters it to me, basically. I don't have to go ahead and make a separate dashboard for this. I can just go ahead and scope it to the agent I want here. The same kind of thing can happen for companies as well. So again, this is all in the context of ConnectWise. But let's say I want to see my company details here. I don't really have to go ahead and, again, make separate dashboards for each of these. I can just choose the scope. That's been pulled in automatically from ConnectWise. So I can click on the blue light code. I think that's one with some data. And you can see the most critical data here. And again, this is all right out of the box for you. So I can see all the open versus closed tickets. I can see all the agreements in place, time logged. I mean, it would show time logged, but we don't have any demo data for that for this particular company. But we can see the agreements. We can see the status of all the tickets and who it was with. So there is really a ton of you can do in terms of building a dashboard, but not having to make one for each and every customer you have. The same kind of thing goes for our other tools. So I've been talking about ConnectWise a lot, but the same kind of thing can go for Halo. So we can look at our ticket KPI out of the box dashboard for Halo. Again, this is all for you right out of the box. Our demo data for Halo is even older than ConnectWise, so I'll scope it to last year or this year. But as you can see, you can get the most critical data. So things like resolution rates, average response times, the amount of tickets by clients, agents, teams, for example. This is all possible, again, right out of the box. So anything you see under a plugin here is built for you right out of the box. And there is no real engineering effort required. It's all really, really easy to do. And just lastly, I've talked about PSA tools up till now, but I'll switch over to RMM. So let's take Ninja, for example. It all works the same way. You have some nice out-of-the-box dashboards built for you where you get things like your activities, failed activities, recent alerts, warnings. We can see what's been happening. I can go over to things like my device overview. Again, built all for you right out of the box. We only have 2 devices in our demo Ninja tenant because we don't use it internally. But you can see our device statuses, our pending patches, active threats, the amount of devices we have, like I say, what the current status is. All of it's possible. And just coming back and tying it back together, I can then use these to build a more custom dashboard. So, you can either do this from scratch and end up with something like this, where you've got all your most critical data on it, or I can go ahead and use these as a base. So let's take my ConnectWise PSA overview dashboard that I showed you before. And I'm saying I'm pretty happy with this. It's got some good data I want to see on a more regular basis. So what I'm going to do is copy the dashboard with the button in the top right here. I'll copy it over. That then moves it into our main dashboard list. So these are the dashboards I own. So as you can see, it's been added here, and it gives me a few more options. So I can hit edit. If I scroll down, I can very visually move all this around. So let's say let's scoot these over. But let's say, I'm happy. I've got my ConnectWise data, but I use Ninja, let's say, as well. I want to get some Ninja data here. So there's a few ways I can do that. What I can do is, if it already exists in my other Ninja One out of the box dashboards, I can just copy it. So let's say I can hover over here. I just want to copy this one tile because I like this one tile. I can copy it to the one I just made, which is the overview. If I copy this now, it will take me to that dashboard and it will show up here where I can then sort of scoot it into the right place it should be. I can put it here, and then straight away I've got a mixed dashboard of mixed data. But let's say I want to add something a little bit more custom. So I've got something really specific I want to do. I'll add a new tile here. I can scoot it into where I want it to be, but I'll just put it at the bottom for now. And let's say I want some more device data. So I click data. This is going to open up our data editor. Like I said, it will give me all of the options from what I have connected. So if I go over to Ninja, let's say, it will select Ninja. I can then choose from a list of data streams. I don't have to write any code or any queries. So I can just go devices. Straight away, I've got my list of devices here. Again, it's not too many just because we don't use Ninja that much internally. But let's say, I don't actually want to do Ninja. I want to do Halo. Let's just say we have a random mix of Halo data. Again, I can choose a different set of dashboards here, of data streams, I should say. So let's say I want my tickets from Halo. I can configure some parameters right out of the box. And I'll choose the time frame as well to this year. So I've now got some data to play with. I have my tickets here that are right out of the box. What I can do is then say, I don't want to get everything globally by default. What I want instead is stuff from only my first, second line or third line support teams. And I also want only my open ones. And I can even go further. I can scope it to the particular client that's been pulled in. I can scope it to the particular agents that have been pulled in. I can hit apply. Make sure it's on the list. And then straight away I have something in the background, a more cut down list of tickets to what I want to see. But let's say I want to go further. I want to visualize this nicely. So what I can do is click to filter group sort. I can use some SQL if I really want to, but what's easier is if I just go to the group menu and I'll group it by priority. So now I have a bit more of a cut down view of it. What I can do is then select my donut. So now I've got a nice donut chart of what I want to sort of monitor or look at. I can go up to the monitor section and toggle that on as well. So I can go to my threshold monitor and say if there's any status with more than like 10 tickets, let's say, it'll give me a preview of that. Once I hit save, it's there on the dashboard straight away for me to use. Just quickly as well, I can do the same for other types of data, not just PSA RMM data. Let's say I want to get things like my M365 data. First of all, I can choose multiple tenants, but let's say I want my Copilot active users versus active users, I should say. Let's say I've just deployed a Copilot for a bunch of people. I want to have a look. I can get my data here as well. I can make it nice and pretty, but for now, just to illustrate, I'll put it on as a table. And that's there as well. So you can get all types of data onto a dashboard, no matter where it's from. I can also, for example, once I'm happy with this dashboard, I can then go ahead and share it out. So I can click share. So sharing is off right now. I can turn on, workspace access to a bunch of people. I can change what level of control they have. Or if I'm sharing with a customer, what most MSPs do is open a link up, basically. So this is going to be a more permanent link where they'll be able to sort of go to it on a more permanent basis. It's got what's called an open access link they can go to. I can restrict it to email domains and read-only accounts you generate for them. So if you don't want multiple customers seeing what they shouldn't, then you can lock it down to a specific customer and a specific read-only user account. That's all possible as well. So shareability is great. You can also do this on a schedule. So if I go to schedule, you can share these out to particular areas or multiple areas, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. So I can choose when this goes out. And this, some of our MSP customers are using this as almost like a QBR replacement or just a way to showcase these metrics to their clients. So you would notice as well, I think so I turned on a monitor for this tile when we made it. If I hover over this, it's successful because it's not breaching monitor. You can see a few of these other dashboards are red because they are breaching their monitors. If I want to be proactively alerted, I want to be the most proactive I can be. I can go over to my monitors section here. This is going to summarize all of the monitors in one view, basically in this workspace. I can click add notification rule and send it out to Slack or Teams or webhook or anything I want to do really. And this just lets me be as proactive as possible. If something goes from green status to red status, then it is all, I can be very, very proactive in looking at it. So everything I've mentioned so far has been in this MSP webinar workspace. So I can click on this and I can see basically the home of this workspace. I can see the most critical metrics. I can see a map of all of its dependencies and monitors that I've got set up. I can see the status of all the integrations. But I mentioned you can roll this up. So day to day you may make a workspace or you may operate in a set of workspaces for a particular set of customers. If I open up the workspace selector and I click on Squid Inc., which is our demo organization, so this would be your company as an MSP, and I click on it, it's going to show me my list of workspaces globally. And I can see all of the statuses here, I can see all of the integrations, I can see key KPIs it's flagging. In the MSP use case, this is just generally tends to be one tile per workspace, so basically one tile per customer. So you can see basically a big list of your customers and what their statuses are. You can tag them as well. So if you want to say, different SLA levels, different levels of service, for example, I can tag them. So I can say only tier one SLAs I want to see. And it will filter that list down to only my list of customers or workspaces with that particular tag or tier. So this is a great way for people who don't need to see the very low level day-to-day metrics. They can just see everything they want to see from one view. So that's all possible as well. So there are a ton of other features as well. So if I could jump back to my MSP webinar workspace, go back to here. All of this data, you might be thinking, it's great we can have it all on one dashboard, but can we actually combine data from multiple data sets into a single tile? The answer is, of course, yes. So the way that we can do that is if I jump to this tile, which already has it set up. This is a cloud cost example where we've got data from both AWS and Azure. The way we enable this is with this multiple data sets toggle. So I can turn this on. What this lets me do is add, like I did before, one data set, then another data set here, and then I can do some final SQL as well, which allows me to combine that data. If I'm not sure, I'm not too versed in SQL, I can click on our Smart Assist feature and I can get Smart Assist to do it for me. So I can go ahead and just ask it, please combine the data I've added here, and it will give me a nice visualization like you've seen. This is how this was achieved. Cool. So yeah, there are a ton of other features. I don't want to run on too long with this demo, but yeah, if it does look interesting, I really do encourage you to jump on the product and give it a go or book a call with us. But yeah, before we run out of time, what I'm going to do is switch over screens just so I can quickly show you our MCP server. So bear with me 1 second. Okay, so I've switched over to Claude Code in the CLI here. This does work in things like the Claude UI. I personally use the CLI a lot, so this is why I'm here. But let's say I want to orchestrate SquaredUp. I want to do things in SquaredUp just from AI. So what I can do here, go /MCP. I can see that SquaredUp US, so because we're in a US tenant, is connected, which is great. This allows me to then ask Claude things. I can say, please generate a new QBR dashboard for the month using data from my workspace. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. I just want to make sure we're okay. I can be more specific. I can say, please use data from ConnectWise PSA and other tools. So we'll do a pretty simple prompt. I would probably, in reality, want to be quite specific to the customer. I'd want to be specific with the projects, maybe. I want to maybe be more specific with branding. But let's say, let's just say, go ahead. Let's see how it goes. So it'll load the skill. It should take a couple of seconds. There you go. It started calling SquaredUp US, which is the US tenant that our Squid Inc. Workspace is in. And as you can see, it's already sort of found the workspace and everything. Okay, so Claude's all done. As you can see, it's gone ahead and built a QBR dashboard. It's taken 22 tiles and it's set the time frame to this month, just like I asked. I wasn't very specific, but it's gone ahead and prioritized the ConnectWise PSA data, and it's included things from NinjaOne and M365, which is great. So if I jump back now to here, as you can see, it's gone ahead and made it. So this is the dashboard that wasn't there before. It's gone ahead and I've just changed the time frame to this year just because our demo data from this month is almost non-existent. So it's gone ahead and pulled that all in for me. It's shown me billable work. It's shown me my client portfolio, and it's showing me even things from NinjaOne and M365. So obviously I was very general. It wasn't really specific to one customer, but obviously if you're going to be doing this for your customers, you're going to want to ask Claude to be a little bit more specific to the client you want to show it for. But as you can see, it's fully orchestrated. It's fully looked at all of the integrations, and it's built me this dashboard without me having to really lift a finger. I can do more from here. I can say, please, can you format this as a presentation? Can you please format this as a spreadsheet? However I want to showcase it to my customers. I can choose to brand it as well. I can embed images here. So there is a ton of stuff I can do with the MCP server. And I can, this is all just for QBRs, but if I wanted to build a whole suite of dashboards for my customers, I can pretty much exclusively use the MCP server just to do it. So cool. I'll switch back to the slides. Okay, well, thanks for sticking with me through that. I hope it was valuable and useful to see what SquaredUp is and how it could potentially solve some of your MSP problems and the ways it can do it. So that demo did run on for probably about 5 minutes longer than I expected, so I'm not going to touch too much more on these slides, but I will just showcase that we do have some real MSP stories available for you to sort of digest. Let's move the window over. So if I jump over here, one of them is Focus IT. They're an MSP based in Macclesfield in the UK. They use SquaredUp quite heavily with Halo PSA. Like I said, I'm not going to jump too deep into this just because I'm conscious of time, but this is available for you to sort of digest on our website in the case study section, so please do feel free to browse it. There is one more as well, Axiotech. So these are an MSP based out of Fort Worth in Texas. Again, this was more heavily on the QBR side than the service desk side. Still Halo PSA, but it's still a very interesting read, and it has helped them save tons and tons of time from an operational standpoint in terms of SquaredUp. So jumping forward then, so next steps, there is a free, well, it says free trial, but there is a free tier available. So today you can just jump onto the website. You don't have to put a credit card or anything like that in. You can just get started. You can connect a few data sources and see how it goes. I do really encourage you, especially if you're an MSP, starting off with the sort of PSA, because that's the main thing that people sort of struggle with, and it's one of the main problems that SquaredUp solves. And of course, you can book a call. So we have a dedicated team here, including myself, sometimes where you can speak to us, walk through your particular use case, and we can explain or show how SquaredUp can really help solve it. Cool, so we've just come to the end. So there is a Q&A section here as well. So I'm sure we've probably been walking through the chat and everything and answering them. Please do feel free to plop some more in now. I'll sort of stick here and go ahead and answer those as well if you do put them on. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much for sticking with me through the slides and the demo. And yeah, really hope it has been useful. And yeah, on to the Q&A.